realizing the potential of Nordic cooperation. And we are located in Oslo with about 20 employees from all of the Nordic countries. So Vision 2030 is very central to everything that we do. It is also very central to the call. And this vision is that the Nordic region will become the most sustainable and integrated region in the world by 2030. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, there are 3 pillars supporting that. One is about a green, the sustainability aspect. One is about a competitive Nordic region, and the third one about a socially sustainable region. And with that, I will give the word over to Jonas to give an overview of the call.
Thank you, Hege. And as probably most of us read in the information about the call, we are seeking contribution for two programs. One, Innovative Solutions for 2030, and the other, Nordic Forward, Resilience and Competitiveness for 2050. In short, the Innovative Solutions for 2030 has to do with a green transition, demonstrating measurable effects to 2030. This is about short-term, quite market-ready projects, and we seek projects that contribute to the faster commercialization of new solutions, green transitions in sector with a high impact to the climate and environment. Nordic Forward, Resilience and Competitiveness for 2050 is, on the other hand, a more long-term program. In this program, we strive to seek for projects that has a technological solution for resilience and competitiveness. We have a particular focus on strengthening the technological capabilities of the Nordics, and also strategic innovation that addresses resilience and also heightens the regional integration or security in the Nordics. And all applicants should note that the project should contribute to the joint Nordic vision of making the Nordic the most sustainable and integrated region in the world. And here some key information of the program.
Yes.
Or the project.
Yeah, thank you, Jonas. Some of the most important things that you should note regarding this call is that you need partners from at least 3 Nordic countries. But we also really encourage you to have as broad Nordic representation as possible. So at least 3 Nordic countries. For this call, we are looking for projects in the range of 2 to 6 million Norwegian kroner. And we have a total budget of 30 million kroner for the call in total. We require 50% co-financing for these projects, meaning that if you apply for, say, 2 million Norwegian kroners from us, you will have to match that with 2 million at least. And this can be done through in-kind hours is the most common way to contribute with this co-financing, but it is also possible to combine with other funding sources. The projects for this call can have a duration up to 3 years, and the application deadline is 11th of February next year at 1 o'clock Norwegian time. We also want to give the opportunity for you to find new partners if you're looking for them. So we will be organizing a matchmaking session, and we want you to sign up for that by October 31st. And in the sign up, you will have to state the kind of overarching topic of what you are looking for. This can be, as an example, maritime plastics, for example, something like that. So quite at a high level, so that we are able to match you in a session together with others with a similar topic. And the QR code on this page will guide you to the call page. And if you scroll down on that page, you will find the sign-up form for the matchmaking session. And depending on if we get enough interest for this matchmaking session, it will be on the 12th and or 13th of November. And I just want to briefly take you through some of the evaluation criteria. I have 4 slides on this, so I won't read up everything that it says here. You will also find this again on the call page. But I just want to remind you to really look at these evaluation criteria when writing the application. An important thing, and also that we get a lot of questions about, is the involvement of industry. This is a really important aspect of these evaluation criteria. And also, as Jonas mentioned, the Nordic Vision 2030 is also important to keep in mind here. Under this segment of impact, there is also the exit strategy. We want to see how the projects have intended for the results or the partnership or core aspects of the projects to kind of live on. We ideally don't want to see great projects simply stop and come to an end after funding from us stops. On this part of the evaluation criteria, I also really want you to focus on the relevance to the two programs. As you can see from the text, it is quite broad and open, and intentionally so, because we want to hear from you what you find the most important issues to be, but you still need to make a clear case for why your project is relevant to these programs. We here also want to see the Nordic added value of your project clearly described, and how this can enable also innovation. One thing I also want to note here is that a good tip when writing the application is to don't assume that we are experts in the topic. So please feel free to elaborate and clearly explain why this could lead to this or this or this. Don't leave any statements kind of hanging, assuming that we understand the logic or the next steps for that. On this slide, you see the implementation criteria, or for the evaluation. And here it is also important to just have a clear, structured plan for your projects, and really look at these keywords here so that we can see that this is a project that can actually be implemented successfully. Lastly, just make a note on that the budget should be reasonable and in line with the ambitions of the project. In the application portal, you will find a section where you can also provide comments for your budget if there are anything that might seem unusual or not balanced. If there is a good reason for that, then please just provide that reasoning in the application portal.
Yes, and some practical information with regards to the call, and of course, as Hege said, fear not, all the information will be found on the call page. As Hege pointed out, we will have a requirement of 50% own funding, and the eligible costs for this will be working hours, external services, equipment, material, travel, meeting costs, and communications, and so forth. With regards to the de minimis regulation, we follow that, but as a Nordic institution, we require have only our grant, only a fifth of it counts towards the de minimis limits. And of course, it is on the applicant's side to ensure that you don't exceed this limits, and we hope that you will check it out beforehand. Then we also require a letter of intent. This is only actually to see that all the stakeholders within the project share the same vision and are also committed into carrying the project through as planned. And last, the application portal. Usually we see that people tend to send in the application in the last minute. We would suggest that don't do it, or at least go in a good time before the application deadline. Familiarize yourself with the portal, see what is required for the application, so that we don't have a lot of kind of technical issues in the last week. Then, with regards to the call timeline, well, as we already opened the call, and now we are the 14th in the info webinar site, Hege mentioned that in November we will have this matchmaking seminar. We hope that those that still are seeking partners will check out and have a short kind of idea of what kind of project they will run, so that it will be easier for us to make the matchmaking. And then in February we have the application deadline, and we hope, I will stress it again, that don't send it in the last minutes. We will try to make the decisions before Easter, the 27th of March, and the idea is that the programs would be starting at the end of April, and for that we will see. After that, we will then see all the great projects running.
Thank you, Jonas. And before we jump into the Q&A, we just wanted to already answer some questions that are quite typical that we receive in regards to the call. So I will just go through these. The first one, as you may know, this call is kind of this second step of a two-step call process where we had call for pre-projects in the fall, in the spring. And I just wanted to emphasize again that having participated in step one, regardless of having been funded or not, you will be competing on equal terms in this round, regardless of participation. And to that as well, we will also have a panel of external evaluators that also don't have any relations to the pre-project. So I just want to stress that you will be evaluated on equal terms. We also often get questions about how do we count it if we have a partner that has offices in several different Nordic countries. And the simple answer is that you can have that if you have a partner with an office in Norway and Sweden, and you need a partner from Norway. If they then can participate with the office in Norway, then that is fine, no problem. Just make sure that the office from which they participate is in the country that is needed. And in short terms. Another question is regarding partners from outside the Nordic region. And the answer to this question, or more dilemma almost, is that we are unfortunately not able to provide funding for organizations or companies located outside of the Nordic region. But they can still participate in the project if they see value in being part of the project, but they have to finance their participation themselves. When it comes to the discussion of project ideas during this process, we often get questions whether we can have a short meeting to kind of go through the proposal or to see how their idea might fit into the programs. And the answer here is unfortunately that we are not able to have individual meetings regarding specific project ideas or to kind of pre-evaluate whether or not we think this is a good fit. But we are open to answering specific questions. Yes. With that, I think let's just jump to the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to start, Jonas, we can.
Well, there's the question from Eetu, if we are going through the applications as they're submitted, or will you review those once the deadline has passed? Well, we will review them after the deadline and also submit them to the external panel after the deadline has passed.
Yes. Another question here from Peter is whether for-profit type of activities, programs, projects are eligible to apply. And yes, definitely. Commercial solutions, definitely very, very welcome.
Yes, and overall, actually, thing with the questions, we will also post Q&A on the call website. So all these questions will also be over there, so you can review them at your own pace. And also, of course, I mean, you are free to send questions after this webinar also to us, and we will then answer them on the page. About sharing the slides after the presentation, I guess we will share them on the call website. So yes, they will be available to you after this webinar.
Yes. There is a question regarding the requirement of 3 or more Nordic partners, if we can elaborate on that and what a preferred consortium looks like. I would say the idea also behind having this requirement is not just to make it a requirement or to make it difficult, but really want to see that cooperation can also really strengthen the innovation potential, and that you can learn from each other. You can use complementary strengths, and it's what a preferred consortium looks like. I would say the broader Nordic representation, the better. Also, a mix of different actors. As I mentioned in the evaluation criteria, the involvement of industry players is very important. So that is also something to think about when putting together your consortium.
Yeah, there's also a question on the template to fill in the proposal. I mean, for this, we again suggest that you will open the application portal where you will see what will be needed to filled in, and then from there you can actually get the template.
And on that, we can also mention that when you click on apply here, you will then be led to the portal, which is called Insights. And there you have to create a user if you haven't done that before. But that is very simple. Just click on create a new user and you choose your username and password. And then you can access it that way. Let's see. I also, we can take this. There is a question whether the program is related to the EU Horizon program, and no, it is not. And our funding is also not coming from the EU, but through the Nordic Council of Ministers. It is coming from the 5 Nordic countries, so it is a separate funding mechanism. Let's see. There is also a question regarding the minimum co-financing rate for research organizations or academia. Is 50% co-financing to be applied for all partners equally, or this is on a project level? That is a very good question. Regarding the first part, the 50% rate does also apply to research and academia actors. I know that is typically a little different in some Interreg or EU applications. For us, it is the same. But the second part of your question is very important because the 50% is for the project as a whole and not for individual partners. So the rate of co-financing can vary between the different partners, but we do want to see some level of co-financing from each partner. So yeah, ideally no one should have 0, but you can have much less as long as others in your consortium are willing to take on more. But we, just for the commitment part, we also want to see at least a little bit of contribution. Let's see.
Well,
the questions are coming in fast, so I can take one from them. I see we have both the Q&A and the chat function, so we will just take some from each of them. There's a question here if there are any restrictions on where the project can be implemented. We haven't set any requirements for this, but the Nordic added value becomes very important here as well. We would ideally like to see the project be implemented in a way that contributes positively to the Nordic countries. But whether to be implemented in a specific Nordic country, we don't have any requirements or restrictions on that. It can, if it makes sense, to be implemented in only one place in the Nordics, that is fine. If it's possible to spread it out to get benefits across the Nordic region, that is also great. But I would be more cautious to place the project far outside of the Nordics, although you have Nordic actors involved, unless you are able to make a really clear case for how this still contributes to the Nordic region.
Yeah, there's also a question regarding the co-financing and the hourly rates, and we have a kind of a formula for calculating it, and I actually hope that it is found on our website. If not, we will post it there so that it will be clear for everyone how much you should count in.
Yes, I believe it should be linked also on the call page. We have here a question regarding the division of labor between the the participants. If one person can have a kind of focal role and others a less time or less heavy role, and we don't have any set restrictions or guidelines for that, but we do want to see that there is a reason for why the partners are part of the project. So one can definitely have a leading role, and we do see often that project leaders have a more substantial commitment and time that they invest in the project. But we don't, I would be careful so it doesn't appear as though the others are just part of it for the sake of having created a consortium, but that their role in the project is also relevant. But that being said, the division of labor is largely up to the project to define themselves. And if it is very skewed, then also you can also explain and elaborate on that in the application. Let's see.
Yeah, there's also a question on the highest level of in-kind funding. I mean, we have the minimum requirement of 50%. Obviously, we want to see that it's also spread out so that we wouldn't have one organization taking all the in-kind funding. And as Hege pointed out, we want to see the commitment for all the participating organizations. So some level of in-kind funding should be required for all participants.
But if the question also means for the project as a whole, if you seek 2 million from us, you are also very welcome to contribute 3, 4, 5 yourself. Yes, so our percentage can also be much lower than 50% if you have more to give. And we also see we also have some projects with participants that are not able to receive funding from us in the Nordics because of their internal rules, and so they can then still also, even being in the Nordics, can also participate 100% self-financed as well. Let's see. I think there are quite a few questions along these lines between the division of funds between the partners, the division of labor, and these kinds of questions. So I can also, just in general, we don't have strict rules regarding this. If it makes sense for the project, you are free to divide this as you please. Also, the funding can also be divided unequally between the partners in the project.
There's also the question about if the funding could be used to build a competitive network of actors with regards to space in the Nordics. And the second program we are seeking the call for seeks longer term impact, and obviously if we can contribute to the Nordic added value on a longer term in a way that enhances resilience, competitiveness, and leads to a more sustainable and integrated region, obviously yes, we can.
And I also see there's another question here regarding kind of the location of the activities, where if the project has a Nordic consortium and is aligned with the Nordic vision, but the activities would be outside the Nordic region, would this still be eligible? The project is still eligible, but I would, in these cases, I would just make sure to really focus on the Nordic added value of this project to kind of make a really good case as to why this is still in line with the vision and how this still contributes to the goals in the Nordics. So just when you have kind of these sort of project ideas, just make a very clear case for why this is still relevant in this context, but definitely still eligible.
And yes, there's a kind of a follow-up question with the space area market readiness of the different programs. Yes, the program Resilience and Competitiveness is a longer-term program. We seek the kind of longer-term impact, and the other program, Innovative Solutions, requires a higher percentage of market readiness than this competitiveness and resilience.
Yes. At the same time, I also want to mention you will find it on the call page too, but that the technology readiness levels should ideally be still from 6 or up if it is relevant. It is not relevant in all cases and all types of projects, of course, but just as a reminder that we are focusing on the innovation part, and there are other Nordic organizations that have the research aspect. So yeah, so just that we are closer to the innovation aspect than we are to the research aspect. We have two questions here on types of participant. One is if an NGO can participate together with the companies, and absolutely very welcome to be in a consortium. And another question is whether an industry partner can be lead partner. And yes, absolutely as well. We don't have any set requirements stated out for project lead, but we do often like to see that the actor that kind of owns a problem or a solution is in the lead of this or in the lead of projects. That has also to do with hopefully the solutions or the results of the project continuing to live on and have an effect after the project is ended. Let's see. There is a question, are educational and upskilling projects welcome to apply to both programs? Yes, in general, they are. I would choose the program that you find the most relevant for the topic that you are working within. But as such, we don't have any restrictions on kind of these competency building projects or such. There's also one, if we finance initiatives that are about commercializing methodologies for new ways of innovation. And yes, that is also very much in the scope of the call, specifically under Program 2. That would be, that would probably, depending a little bit, of course, on what the specific idea is, but off the top of my head, I would say that the Program 2 seems like a good fit for those kinds of initiatives. Let's see. Does also innovative business model or innovative financing models, if they are applicable? They could also definitely be applicable. Regarding the kind of finance heavier projects, I would also just make sure to keep in mind how you also connect the relevance quite clearly to the two programs covered in the call. Because at Nordic Innovation, we also have another program that is more focused on the capital side and financing. But since this call is specifically for the two programs that Jonas presented, just make sure that in those projects that have a big capital or financing focus, that you really tie it to one of these programs specifically.
Yeah, there was also a question on methodology that had to do with the similar thing, and I guess it will be answered in the same way. Yes, it is possible to apply.
Yes. I see here a question regarding the previous call. And in the new call, all applicants are at the same level. How much should we guide ourselves by the examples of the previously approved grants? Are projects to be a consortium of before or more ambitious, or should it be a similar level of ambition? What sets this? If I understand the question correctly, the applications in this phase would have to have some more ambition, depending, of course, what the previous one. But since the requirement in the pre-call was only to have 2 partners, and also that the time span of the project was only 3 months, that is, of course, quite limited how much you can achieve within those 3 months. But the ambitions, if the ambitions were also beyond those 3 months, that is good. But I would say a main difference is that at this point you have to have at least three partners on board, and as well the co-financing. And you can also the ambition level should simply match the budget or the funding that you apply for, the amount, and also the time or length of the project.
Yeah, and also if you haven't participated in the first call, you are eligible to participate in the second call.
I see we have a question if we can elaborate on the background and domain knowledge of the reviewers. These have not been confirmed yet, so at this point we are not able to. But we will look into how we can share information regarding this. And a thought is, since this call will be very broad and open, that we will also find reviewers or evaluators that have a good background for reading applications from a broad set of topics and sectors. But yes, unfortunately, at the moment, we do not have them yet. There is a question about what we would consider eligible in kind, and you have kind of touched upon that already, Jonas.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, there is the list. I mean, most, as also Hege pointed out in the beginning, will use own working hours. Then obviously there's the workshop, seminars, communications, and there's a kind of a thorough list in the call page and also is in the application portal.
I see here a question if these programs are suitable in cases where the technology already exists, but the regulatory framework is not yet in place. For example, regulatory sandboxes. And yes, absolutely. Especially for Program 1 on Innovative Solutions for 2030, it would be great to see solutions that are already ready or within reach to reach the market, to remove the barriers for market entry for these kinds of solutions. So absolutely relevant.
Yeah, and then the question about technology development, as Hege pointed out, we are on the kind of innovation side. We usually don't fund the research part of the technology development. So probably it has to do with the question if it's kind of a project on the basic technology level or the application level. So we will assess it kind of on a kind of a program project submission level, but I would say that research programs are not within our call.
Yes, and just to also elaborate on that, some kind of technology development can be part of the project, but of course they can also be quite resource intensive. So also keep in mind kind of the balanced budget, because since we have such a focus on Nordic collaboration projects, the project should not just be about developing, for example, one company's solution, but rather kind of seeing it in a little bit of a bigger picture and collaboration. But elements of technology development can be part of it. But yeah, just describe it and how and why in the application. But as Jonas said, it is a little case by case, of course. Yeah. I see a quick question here regarding a minimum cost of a project that is applicable. For this call, we are looking for projects in the range of 2 to 6 million kroner from us, meaning that the project total is then from minimum for 4 million in total, then with our 2 million and your 50% on top of that, so between 4 million in total to 12 million in total. Let's see. There's a question here. Can some companies apply for funding in different projects with different scopes, or are there some restrictions? That is also a good questions. That we don't have any restrictions on it. At the same time, since the number of projects that will be selected in this round is much less than in the previous round, for example, we also want to see kind of a good mix of actors. So there are no restrictions on it, but it's hard to see or to say without having seen the project proposals. But in general, I would say that it doesn't necessarily increase the chance of funding. It could, of course, if these two proposals are great, but we do want to see a balanced representation. But we have no restrictions for it, so it should also not impact negatively on the evaluation. Let's see. Are there any more?
Yes, there's the question about opportunity for applicants to share an early project concept book or short meeting with the Nordic Innovation team to check alignment before submitting the full application. Obviously, we will answer questions that will be sent to us, but I would assume that we cannot have a meeting with all applicants.
Yeah.
Kind of reviewing them beforehand.
Yes, unfortunately, we are not able to kind of look at a project proposal or idea and give advice on the project as a whole. But as Jonas said, if you have like specific questions, we can answer those. But unfortunately, not able to have these kinds of meetings.
And it's in Norwegian kroner.
Yes. Yeah. And there was also a question regarding just a specification or a clarification on the three partners, whether it has to be 3 countries or if it can be 2 companies. Sorry, 3 companies in 2 countries. The answer is that it has to be 3 countries. It can be as many actors as possible as long as they cover at least 3 Nordic countries. I hope that clarifies. Yes, so it can be 4 companies, 3 countries, but it cannot be 3 companies, 2 countries. Yes. Let's see. There's a question on average, how many projects will receive a grant under such programs? There isn't really a kind of an average. We don't have regular intervals on calls. Most of our calls are kind of the only one in that category. So it will depend a lot from call to call. Sometimes we only select 1 project, sometimes more. In this specific call, we have, as I mentioned, 30 million, about 30 million kroner in total, meaning that when the projects are between 2 and 6 million, it will depend a little bit how much the applications for projects are, but we imagine something like 5, 6, 7 projects, perhaps something in that range. There is another question regarding the TRL level, whether the TRL from 6 and above only applies to program 1 or if it applies to both. It does apply to both, but the TRL level might not be relevant to all projects. So in the application form, you will also see that it says like if applicable. But where it is applicable, we want to see it from 6 and above. The reason for this is just to make sure we aren't too close to the research stage. Let's see. There's a question here asking if it's possible to work with a tourism partner or operator to distribute or use technology in the Nordic region. I also don't see any contradictions to that, as long as, of course, you can kind of tie it to one of the goals in the programs, then yeah, no contradictions to that.
Yes, and there's no requirement on the age of the entities.
Yes, so the question here is if a relatively young entity can apply,
Yeah.
less than 2 years, and
Yeah, and obviously we want to also see kind of applications from older and newer actors, and obviously consortia that involve both of them.
definitely. Let's see. And if we miss your question in this in the chat or in general, then we will also post them online as Jonas mentioned, and you will later be able to find a list of questions at the bottom of the call page. So don't worry if we are missing yours, and if you really want it also answered here, you can also resend it so that it pops up again. There is a question whether or not the meeting is being recorded. It is being recorded and it can be shared, but please, I'm not sure in what format this will be. We might not post it, but feel free to reach out if you want the recording. But we can share the slides. And I also want to reiterate kind of that there is nothing in this webinar that is kind of information that you can't also find on the call page. So don't feel like you have to re-watch this, and we will also answer the questions in writing as well. So yeah, don't worry if you feel like you missed some parts of this webinar.
Yeah, and obviously we will take the questions that are most frequent here and put them in the Q&A so that it will be kind of accessible for everyone, and you don't have to remember all the answers to the questions from this webinar. So it will also be posted online.
Absolutely. Let me see here. I see some more in... just a moment, looking for what we have missed. There is a question also regarding the co-financing, whether this can come from another funding source, since this is not Horizon Europe, or is this considered as double funding? The answer is yes and no. We do not allow double funding, but we do allow co-financing to come from other sources, given that it cannot be counted as double funding. So, like Jonas said, most of our projects, they cover the co-financing through in-kind hours. That is, of course, in a sense, the easiest, if you are able to do that. If you are looking for financing from other sources, it will also have to be assessed on a kind of case-by-case basis, and you must also ensure that financing is that the purpose of that financing is to co-fund this project. So you can't apply for the same project from us and from a different funding source, and then combine that money to kind of cover each other's potential co-financing requirements. So it is absolutely possible, but there are some... you have to be kind of careful in approaching that so that it doesn't end up being double financed. It is also possible to secure financing from other sorts. If you find someone who wants to sponsor your project, for example, we do not have much experience with projects doing that, but it is also possible.
And then there's the question if it's mandatory to have partners from other Nordic countries at the time of application, and yes, it is. So you can't make a kind of a project application where the idea is to find Nordic partners. But the idea for us to host this matchmaking webinar next month is just to kind of make it easier for all applicants to find the relevant partners in the different Nordic countries. And obviously you can also contact us and ask if we know any other actors that would be interested. But first, kind of the first phase would be to take part in the matchmaking webinar next month.
Yes. Let's see. There is a question if we have defined what sectors with high impact on climate and environment are, if it's correlated to direct or indirect emissions. And the short answer is no. We do not have a set definition for these. So again, if it impacts the climate and environment in different ways, like you mentioned, if it's direct or indirect, we don't have any. Yeah, we haven't set any definitions for that, so that is also quite open. It's like most of the calls and most of the wordings in this, in both the call and the program, is deliberately quite open in order to not restrict too much and to not sit from our office and dictate what the most pressing issues are, but for you to be able to argue why this is an important thing to do in the Nordics. Let's see if we have. It looks like we have covered most of the questions. If you had a questions that we haven't answered, you can rewrite it so it pops to the top. We'll give you a little time for that, but if there are no more questions, let's see.
The rate actually it was posted in the chat earlier.
Oh, maybe one of our colleagues could post the rate again. But yes, there is a calculation. Yes, no worries.
And I mean, obviously, all this information can also be found on the call page, so that, I mean, rest assured,
yes,
the information will be available.
Yeah, don't worry if you have missed something. Let's see. We'll give it a few more moments. Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
thank you. Then someone also shared in the chat again. Excellent. Yes, but great to see that it seems like we have answered most questions. Also, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And like we said, we are happy to answer questions, but are unfortunately not able to kind of have a more broader or general discussion about the project ideas. But yeah.
Yeah, and the contact information can also be found on the call page, so that.
Yes, absolutely. And also remember, if someone missed the beginning, to sign up for the matchmaking session if you are interested. Hopefully we will get enough enough participants to create meaningful sessions for you. And you can find that on the call page as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well then.
Yeah, I guess it's for us just to say that. Was there a new question just popping up? No, there was a thank you. Well, thank you from our part also.
Yeah.
I guess.
Wonderful.
I mean, this was a good session, and actually the amount of questions.
Very good. And then we are happy to give you 10 minutes of your time back. And feel free to reach out.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.